The season opened with a calm cup passage as Dortmund beat Phoenix Lübeck 4-1, 4 different scorers sharing it out to book the second round. Back to league action, Gittens produced a late brace to sink Eintracht Frankfurt 2-0 on home turf and keep the early stride. The winning start met a pause in Bremen, a 0-0 that kept things steady without shifting the picture. Back at Signal Iduna Park, Adeyemi's double fronted a 4-2 victory over Heidenheim, the Finnish resetting the tempo after the stalemate on the road. Home fortress roared, away days unravelled. Could Sahin tame the chaos? European duty began in Bruges as Gittens struck twice before a stoppage-time penalty sealed a 3-0 win over Club Bruges, a sharp start to the league stage. Back in league play, Dortmund were torn apart 5-1 at Stuttgart, Undav among the doubles as a promising week in Europe ended with a bruising collapse. The response came at home as Guirassy's brace led the comeback in a 4-2 win over Bochum and steadied the league picture after Stuttgart. On a European night in Dortmund, Adeyemi's hat-trick headlined a 7-1 dismantling of Celtic as the league stage moved firmly in their favour. Days after that sweeping European win, the trip to Union brought a tighter, sobering 1-2 defeat despite Ryerson's reply. Back at home, a measured response saw off St. Pauli 2-1, Guirassy settling it late after Bensebaini's opener. European heavyweights brought a harsh lesson as Madrid ran out 5-2 at the Bernabeu, Vinicius Jr. completing a hat-trick after Dortmund's bright start. Returning to league action, Augsburg edged it 2-1 with Claude Maurice striking twice after Malen's early opener. The cup tie slipped away in extra time at Wolfsburg, a 1-0 defeat on Wynn's late strike, ending the campaign in this competition. Back to league action at home, Dortmund turned it around to beat Leipzig 2-1, Bayer and Guirassy flipping the score after the midweek cup exit. Into the European night again, Marlen's late strike made it 1-0 against Sturm Graz and kept the league stage campaign on track. After that tight Champions League win, the trip to Mainz brought a 3-1 defeat despite Guirassy's penalty. The answer was emphatic at Signal Iduna Park, 4 different scorers powering a 4-0 win over Freiburg to reset the course. On the road in Europe, goals from Gittens and Bensebaini before a late Guirassy finish delivered a 3-0 win at Dinamo Zagreb. Back in league action, Gittens' first-half strike had Bayern pegged until Musiala's late equaliser left it 1-1. On the road at Borussia Park, Gittens struck again, but a second-half penalty left it 1-1. European stakes bros against Barcelona, where Guirassy's brace couldn't prevent a 3-2 defeat as Ferran Torres answered with 2 of his own. Returning to league duty, Reyna's goal early in the second half earned a 1-1 against Hoffenheim to steady the week. Back on the road, a 3-goal burst before the half-hour set up a 3-1 win at Wolfsburg and a useful step up the table. Momentum met elite opposition as Leverkusen edged it 3-2, Schick's double outlasting strikes from Gittens and Guirassy. Away to Holstein Kiel, Dortmund were 3 down by the break, and the late replies from Reyna and Gittens only trimmed the loss to 4-2. Still on their travels, Frankfurt kept them at bay before a late second sealed a 2-0 defeat. European duties in Bologna brought a narrow 2-1 defeat, Guirassy's early penalty overturned by a quick late swing. Back home in league action, Guirassy's strike and an own goal had Dortmund 2 up before Bremen levelled it at 2-2. To close the league stage, Guirassy's brace set up a 3-1 win over Shakhtar Donetsk, with Ben Sabini adding late gloss. Turning back to league business on the road, Guirassy and Bayer delivered a 2-1 win at Heidenheim to keep things moving. After Heidenheim, momentum checked as an own goal and Chabot's strike left Dortmund beaten 2-1 before Brandt's late reply. Into the knockout rounds, Dortmund took command in Lisbon with a 3-0 first-leg win over Sporting, Guirassy opening the scoring before Gross and Adeyemi stretched the lead. Days after Lisbon, Bochum struck twice before the break through Masaurus to hand Dortmund a 2-0 defeat. Into the second leg, a controlled 0-0 against Sporting finished the job and sent Dortmund through to the round of 16. Guirassy ran riot with a 4-goal haul in a 6-0 sweep of Union, with an own goal and Ben Chile's late finish completing the rout. The run travelled well as Guirassy and Adeyemi struck to beat St. Pauli 2-0 at the Milan Tour. The knockout tie opened with a 1-1 at home to Lille, Adeyemi on the scoresheet, before Haraldsson levelled to leave it finely balanced. Back to league duty, Augsburg nicked a 1-0 at Signal Iduna Park to stall the domestic push. In Lille, a second-half turnaround through a Can penalty and Bayer's finish earned a 2-1 win and passage to the quarter-finals. 4 days after advancing in Europe, Leipzig proved sharper, handing Dortmund a 2-0 defeat on the road. Back home, Bayer struck twice in a 3-1 win over Mainz to get the league form moving again. Carrying that on the road, 4 different scorers powered a 4-1 win at Freiburg, with Eggestein's late reply the only blemish. In the quarter-final first leg in Barcelona, Dortmund were overwhelmed 4-0 as Rafinha opened, Lewandowski scored twice and Lamine Yamal added the 4th. Back to league play at the Allianz, Bayer and Anton earned a 2-2 draw with Bayern to steady the domestic chase. Back in Dortmund for the second leg, Guirassy's hat-trick drove a 3-1 win, but the tie still slipped away and the quarter-final run ended. 3 first-half goals flipped a tricky start as Dortmund edged Gladbach 3-2 to keep the push alive after their European exit. Momentum held in Sinsheim, where Anton struck at the death for a 3-2 win over Hoffenheim after an earlier miss from the spot. At home, the goals flowed, Guirassy and Adeyemi both scoring twice in a 4-0 win over Wolfsburg that kept the surge going. Away to Leverkusen, 4 different scorers delivered a comeback 4-2 victory that clinched European qualification. On the final day, a controlled 3-0 over Holstein Kiel at Signal Iduna Park closed the league campaign on a high. Under Nuri Sahin, Dortmund lurched between extremes, the 7-1 dismantling of Celtic, the comeback in Lille, and a 3-1 second-leg win over Barcelona sat alongside bruising away defeats at Stuttgart, Mainz and Kiel. Guirassy drove the season with 34 goals, and a 5-match winning finish, capped by the comeback 4-2 at Leverkusen, hauled Dortmund up to 3rd and back into the Champions League places. The quarter-final exit to Barcelona still left the sense of a side that was volatile, dangerous and sharper by the run-in. Thanks for watching Scoreflow. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.